Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Great Opportunities Inside Difficulties podcast. My name is Rue Stewart. I'm your podcast host, and today is show number 5. And the title of today's show is Finding the Blessings and Letting Go of Our Ego and Pride. And today's show is going to be on YouTube and actually on Anchor on podcast host as well in the audio version. So we're really blowing this thing up. And right now, let's get started. So I'm the podcast host today, and with this show, let me start with a couple challenges that I've faced in the past, or even are facing right now. And there's two things that I really have addressed this situation where I've had to, let go of my ego and my pride. One of them was publishing my book and walking through all the fears I had of letting go of these images I want to uphold of myself, and also letting go of what I believe other people think about me, and putting that above how I value myself, and making that a lot bigger than the way I value myself. And another challenge that I've actually walking through is right now, and have been walking through, is a challenge with having some financial strain, some financial insecurity. We have been a two-income household for a long time, and for the last 15 months or so, we've been a one-income household, and that has been stressful, and been a situation where I've had an opportunity to let go of ego and pride, and I look forward to getting to that. So those are the difficulties that I have faced, which have allowed me the opportunity to realize this equal or much greater benefit of being able, the blessing of letting go of ego and pride to the small extent I have, because I definitely do believe this is something that I and we all do and have struggled with. And so the first situation I'll speak about is the financial strain situation. So in walking through that, I feel that God's part of my life in many, many areas, and I really try to build a connection with a higher power, with God. And I take a lot of effort to do that. I'm very committed to the best of my ability of running after my God and growing closer to my God. And I have friends in my life that I stay in contact with, and it's our goal and aim to do that. And even though I've done that, even though I've been in some recovery programs for a long time, and actually, the basis of those programs, in my eyes, are to help us grow closer to a higher power and use that higher power as the source and strength of our life, without seeking to other ways to deal with life without a higher power. So, with all that being said, I have felt really close to God in my life in many areas. One of the areas I sort of have felt, shut off from God, or not that connected, is with running a business, and also with the finances in my life. And so recently, in this situation with having things change a lot and being under financially strained situation many times, or most of the times, I really had to invite God into that, and it's been an interesting experience. And but I have sought out resources to help me do that, and I am involved in doing that every day. But in the middle of that, I run into some situations where I've had to do what anyone else would do, to ask for help and to call agencies and get more information about how I could help myself, but also how I could gain the help that many of us get to deal with financial situations. So I met with some friends, and we talked about some things I could do that would help myself and get more information. So I started making these phone calls. And one of the things that really came up, so I'm making these phone calls. This is me speaking from me, who I am, and who I keep working on. I was making these phone calls, and first I'm thinking I had this image. I'm a business owner. I own a law firm that I'm supposed to not have problems like this, or some image from watching TV, or just some image I want to project. I mean, I don't try to go around being fake. I don't try to consciously, invoke that image to other people. I just try to be myself. But and when the tire hits the road, a lot of the unconscious stuff is, you know, there's an image of in our society, or what I view, that I shouldn't have problems like that because I own a business. There's a lot of ego and pride stuff. And another thing is the situation that I'm an attorney, and you can watch TV and think everybody, you know, is should not have financial situations if they struggles if they were an attorney. So I started making these phone calls, and the first couple of phone calls, I'm feeling really weird explaining my situation and feeling really uncomfortable. But by about the second or third phone call, I really decided just to be myself. And, you know, having this situation where, we're a two income household, and now we're a one income household, and we, been walking through that challenge and really have invited God and other people into my life to help me with that and walk through that and not try to do it by myself. And then being in this situation where, asking for help is a very important uh, character asset to have. And it's a godly thing for me to do as well. So in me doing that, when I got the most wonderful, beautiful gift from doing that. And doing that, I felt so free just being myself by the third or fourth call. Then I felt so comfortable just being in that process and letting go of all those images. And these are images that just I try to, I guess we do it all out of an ability to protect ourselves, or from being insecure, to somehow, you know, um, project an image of what we think other people should be, how we should be. And I'm not the only person who does this. And actually, I work on this. So some people who aren't working on this, I'm sure, do struggle with this a lot. So in all honesty, I guess, you just get into what I feel the equal or much greater benefit was. I'm in this situation, have an opportunity to to get to know myself more, to get to know how I'm responding to these different situations. And what really happened was, it's the third, fourth call, I'm really being myself. By the fifth call, I really have gotten some resources that can help me. And then, I get off the phone. The whole rest of the week, I had a whole different energy and attitude. The energy and attitude I had, you get these, you start these things. I'm still paying off a student loan, and you get, you do some things and you get something, and they want you to give them 3, 4 more things. And a lot of those things, it's easy to set aside and not really get back to with doing other things. But I was so invigorated and had so much the energy to finish all these things that needed to be finished. And one of them was a student loan thing. But all these other things, I was just so free, and I was so had a whole different energy, maybe humility as well, and just to be able to finish all these things that needed to be finished. And actually, it gave me a lot of energy to in a different outlook, and a lot of freedom to do some other things that needed to be done. Also, in the midst of that, we all have goals and dreams. I've had a goal for a long time to go to a specific school and actually to study. I want to study government. And before a law school, I went and visit. I actually wanted to go there. I thought going to law school would help me go there. And then during law school, I went there a couple of times to visit. And actually, about 4 years ago, me and my wife went there. It actually was a Harvard University Extension School. Actually, is the school that I'm trying to go to now, but back then it was the John F. Kennedy School of Government. So me and my wife actually went there 4 years ago, and we walked around the campus there. I mean, I met with administrative person at the Kennedy School, and I realized it was about public policy, and I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in political science or learning more about government, the way that our government runs, and different things. So, long story being short, I didn't really realize they had an extension school until I was in the airport with my wife, and my wife at that time was going to a school for a lot of those schools are for older people who have full-time jobs and families. And I can't really live in Boston and go to Harvard, but I can take classes remotely, and I have to take 3 classes there. But I didn't know anything about that until I was in the airport. And so that's been a goal of mine since that time, at least the last 4 years, to be able to go to school there. And it really hasn't been a part of trying to figure out how to work that out time wise with having a business and being an attorney, but also with financially. So back to my challenge, and some of these great blessings are equal or much greater benefits I'm realizing by having some of these challenges that I have, is after I had that week and everything, I was thinking, I could just write Harvard a letter, asking for a scholarship. I don't know, that doesn't seem so, that seems like something pop normally into everyone's mind. And, but I had a block in me doing that. And, I guess normally I would just get a loan or do these things, but that's not going to behoove me. I'm not trying to make my life better without digging more problems with having more debt. So, with all that being said, that was a great benefit for me to realize that I could go to school right now by seeking out a scholarship or grant from Harvard or from other agencies that I could speak with that maybe would be interested in supporting me. So I'm in the middle of that. And that was a great blessing, because I sure did have a block that was an alternative that I could use. And I really do think that experience of letting go of some of these images I have that, I have a business, I'm not supposed to have any problems like everybody else has, these things that don't make sense. And this image that I'm an attorney and I'm not supposed to have any kind of problems. I'm supposed to, somehow be removed from the struggles that we all have because I have this profession, and those things are my images. A lot of them are really deep down images, but they don't work. So, in all honesty, that has been, I'm in the middle of that. Another thing, that writing my book, publishing my book, that was very difficult for me. Actually, one of the chapters of my book's about the characteristics of faith that I learned from having had to walk through difficult challenges in my life. And it's called, Great Opportunities Inside Difficulties, Discovering Faith That Works. And I wrote that book because, in my life, faith is important to me, but in my life, faith has been shown to me by different, characteristics like courage and also willingness, and a lot of other things, honesty, a lot of things that I've had to do, I had to experience to have a deeper faith. So in publishing the book, which was very extremely difficult for me, I was finally able to do that with the help of other people, but also with just being committed to growing and committed to overcoming myself, but committed to somehow, with the help of God, to be able to finish that book and publish it. It was difficult for me to do because if I do suggest that you get the book if you care to really look deeper at some of these challenges that we all have in life and how we can still achieve those challenges and walk through those challenges, even though they're extremely difficult. And it's that's what the book's about. So long story short, with this challenge of publishing my book, a lot of it is it's a book where I am very vulnerable and are sharing things that I wanted to share. But I really was on my heart to do that. And I don't like being afraid to do things and letting that fear stop me from doing it. And it did take a number of years, but some of the things that was really brought that fear up in me is my fear of what I think other people think of me. And I guess it goes back to the same image problem and fear of this pride and ego. A lot of these things, which really are a lack of humility. You know, I'm not the most important person. I'm not the center of the universe, and actually, everybody else is so busy. Most people have no, I don't really take the, would not, don't even take the time to think deep enough outside of their own life. Like even myself, some, you know, a lot of things are going on, and I'm not as important as I can project myself to be. But really, a lot of the concerns I have of what people think about me really are very shallow in that sense anyway. And in all honesty, I want to value myself more than what I think other people think of me, especially when what I think other people think of me. That fear of that is stopping me from living the life I want to live and also doing what I feel God's will is for me in my life. So long story short, that challenge of having those fears and having that concern about what other people would think of me was stopping me from writing that, publishing that book and finishing writing it. But you know, the great benefit of me being able to persevere in that is actually, and I was writing this letter lately to Harvard about a scholarship. And one of the things I was really had to state and speak about is why I wanted to go to study government at Harvard. And I've journaled that and I've thought about that a lot. And I was creating a good letter to them about explaining that. And you know, one of the things that was stopping me from publishing the book, a lot of the fears that made me concerned about what other people would think about me, was me speaking in my book about some of the challenges that I walked through with mental illness and addiction and having been incarcerated. A lot of it, you know, a lot of it is the stigma of mental illness. And, you know, I spoke very frankly, I was very vulnerable about, you know, I had a car accident and a lot of things after that. Several years after that, I started having mental health problems. And I spoke about that. And, you know, that's a stigma in our society. And actually, I'm less afraid of that stigma today because I did over time, with the help of God and other people, I was able to not give up on my desire to speak my voice about what I wanted to say in my book. So when I was writing this letter to Harvard about why I wanted to study at Harvard, this extension school in government, and what I wanted to gain out of doing that, I was just saying that you know, the faith, I actually spoke in the letter about my podcast that, and also my book. And I was referring back that I do believe there are great opportunities inside difficulties. The great opportunities I feel from publishing my book was the strength, the faith that it took me to finally publish my book, you know, and express my voice. I can use that in my life in other areas, and I do care to use that education with the government to be able to speak my voice about some of these crazy things in our society, especially when our government. I don't want to. I want to have an unopinionated, non-emotional, educated, taking into consideration views of other people. That was a phone call from me, but actually I'm gonna turn that off, so I apologize for that. But with all that being said, you know, I explained to them that that difficulty me walking through that, has allowed me to have less of a fear of the stigma of mental illness, but also just the character attributes that I had to have my God help me with to be able to finalize that. I can use that in other areas of my life. I can use that to speak out about, from my heart, what I think about what's going on. And I'm looking forward to doing that. But I want to go to Harvard and study government, and I want to be in that community to help me be able to do that. And I look forward to having that opportunity. So, long story short, there are great opportunities inside difficulties, and there are tremendous benefits to being able to let go of my ego and pride, and to be humble enough to be able to learn more about humility. I mean, humility is a great big word, but to be able to learn more about humility for myself in my own life and be able to practice that more. And looking forward to that journey. I just wanted to speak up today. Had a guest, but it didn't work out, and I can be a guest. My podcast, and I know there are great opportunities inside difficulties. And this was another example of me having challenges in my life recently with this financially being strained with life on life terms. Many people, especially now, are going through very similar things, and me needing to ask for help, which is a very healthy self-care thing to do that we all need to do. And in me doing that, I discovered the freedom of being able to let go of this images I have, or this ego and pride I have that aren't even real. And then also was able to have a block lifted about a simple thing I could do to help myself go to school. And it's not rocket science, but with my some of these things going on, I can block myself from simple things. So those were two great benefits from that. And with the book, with me finally, with God's help, being able to publish my book and overcome a lot of my fears and value myself more, I can use that in other areas of my life. And just the ego and pride and the things that were stopping me from doing that, has allowed me to live a different life. And I can't wait to how my life's unfolding by me doing that. And actually doing a podcast is an extension of that, and actually taking it to YouTube now and blowing things up in a one step at a time way, just making it more the way I want it to be, more what I feel that how God wants this podcast to be is, it's out, something that's coming out of that. So I'm very grateful to be here. And what would my life look like if I had not chosen some of these things that I've been doing recently? In all honesty, I don't want to live that way. That's being stuck, it's being afraid, it's living in fears, sitting on the couch being pissed off at other people because they're doing what you want to do. I don't want to live that way. I want to be free. I want to live from the inside out. I don't want to be impeded by what other people think about me. If I want to live my life, and I'm able to do that more and more as I'm able to stay committed to myself and to my relationship with God. And a lot of that is finding great opportunities inside difficulties. And lastly, how have these challenges and walking through these things affected my relationship, my belief, my faith? I'm here, and I'm doing this and walking through these things, and can only do these things for my relationship with God and my desire to be the most that I can be. And all these things are opportunities for me, even having one income where we had two income for a long time. It gives me an opportunity to ask for help from a higher power and invite my higher power, God, into my life, and also to be able to let go of my ego and pride, which I, am having the opportunity to do. often. And even with my book, I had the opportunity to do it there. So really grateful to have the opportunity to have this podcast, and I really appreciate you listening. So look forward to coming back on podcast 6, and thanks for tuning into the Great Opportunities Inside Difficulties podcast, and we got it on YouTube now, so we're moving in the right direction. So, all right, appreciate that. Take care.